I need a break. I need a break.
Bottom line is we're going to move on to step 6.
Okay. So, step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. So this is the step that separates the boys from the men. This is the step where the rubber hits the road. This is the step where I really am going to start to do something different than I've ever done before. This is where I know so much stuff about myself from 4 and 5. And I've had this experience and I'm in this way of life. And I desperately need to be clean. I desperately need to have this stuff removed, because if it's not removed, then I'm going to continue to act the way that I acted before, and I'm going to continue to have to write 4 steps from now, sober, because I'm going to continue to harm people, because I'm going to continue to energize old character. And as a way of life now, I'm growing spiritually, and I'm growing in a direction of having a higher power in my life for real. And I've had some experience with it in step 2. I've had some experience with step 2 and some peace in step 3. And now I've written all this stuff, and I put it down on paper, and I've shared it with another man, and with God, and with myself. And now I get to start to really ask to have this stuff removed, to become entirely willing to have it removed as a way of life. So it's step 2, but I'm going deeper now in being restored to sanity. And I'm asking God. I'm not asking me. I don't work on my anger. We talked a little bit about compliance. Compliance is doing something, doing the right thing, but doing it under duress. Knowing that one day you'll get them back. I'll do those dishes, honey, but you owe me. And I'm gonna tell you about it when the time is right. It's in my filing cabinet of stuff you owe me. And step 6 is where I'm going to start to ask the power to remove these things from me, so that I don't live in compliance anymore. So, can God remove these things? It asks that question in the 12 and 12. In the big book, I already read all of step 6. It's a 1 paragraph. And it's such a deep step as far as an application goes, because I have to go into it and I have to do something. And I have to become entirely willing to let it happen. And that willingness comes from the knowledge of what the things that I do when I do them and how they destroy my life. So it's not a mystery. If I have to get the best deal, I'm never going to get a deal without feeling terrible, because I know what a best deal means to me today. I know what it means. And so I ask God to help me to just get a deal. To just get a deal where everybody can win. And I go into it with that. And I ask God to remove my need to win in every deal. And I become entirely willing to have that removed. And then I go into the deal as if it has been removed. If you're afraid to get on elevators because you're claustrophobic, you can stand in the lobby and pray all you want to have your claustrophobia removed. But until you get in that elevator, you're not going to know. I got to get in the elevator and pray for my claustrophobia to be removed, and trust and rely that it has been. And then I can have the experience of knowing that it's been removed. And it's the same thing with my defects of character. I got to go back out into the world now and live my life with a willingness, with an open, willing heart, to have the things inside of me that I found objectionable removed. And I start to have some new experiences. Step 1 through 6 is all about old character. I've seen it in 1. I've had some sanity in 2. I've made a decision in 3. I went deeper into my willingness to look at myself in 4. I shared all my secrets in 5. And in 6, I'm willing to have that old character removed. I'm willing to set it aside. There's nothing that I do besides having the willingness, and I think that the willingness comes from doing a fourth and a fifth step. God doesn't render me white as snow. It's something that I have to continue to be willing to have done. And the knowledge from step 4 and 5 is the thing that propels me to keep going for it in step 6. To keep having that willingness, to keep having an open mind, to keep going for it. Another great dividend we may expect from confiding our defects to another human being is humility, a word often misunderstood. To those who have made progress in AA, it amounts to a clear recognition of what and who I really am, followed by a sincere attempt to become what I could be. That's what happens in 5. And in 6, if I've done 5, I have a sincere attempt to become what I could be. Therefore, my first practical move toward humility must consist of recognizing my deficiencies. I got to see my character defects in order to have them removed, or the nature of my wrongs in order to have them removed. I can see it. I can see how it's removed I can see how my obsession to drink alcohol is removed when I became entirely willing to have the mania for alcohol removed. And that's such a great gift that we get when we come in, or that I got when I came into AA, because that's the foundation that I can always go back to. Because I remember what it was like to get through a day when my mind told me I needed a drink today, and make it through one day without drinking when I wanted to really bad. And the amazement of, wow, I didn't drink today was unbelievable. But I was dying, and I was praying and asking for help and dying, and months went by, and I think it was somewhere around 6 months where I had a whole day where I did not once think about drugs or alcohol. At somewhere around 6 months. And I was shocked that my mind didn't scream and yell about alcohol. It had just been removed. There was nothing I did except for becoming willing and praying. And that thing was pulled out of me. And so I have that experience deep down inside of me. And this is an experiential program. And I have to have had that in order to have a little bit of willingness to believe that God could do that with everything else, with every other defect and difficulty that I have in my life. That's what that great gift of alcohol and my obsession and my addiction to alcohol, that's what it provided me, the foundation of believing that maybe a God could do something for me that I couldn't do for myself. And I've had the experience, so I have the willingness to trust and rely on that power. So step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of characters, is AA's way of stating the best possible attitude one can take toward a beginning on a lifetime job. It's a lifetime job to be willing. This doesn't mean that I expect all my character defects to be lifted out of me as the desire to drink was. A few of them may be, but with some of them I shall have to be content with patient improvement. The key words, entirely ready, underline the fact that I want to aim at the very best I know or can learn. I want to go for the very best. Right now, in this moment, I believe right now in this moment, all of my defects of character can be completely lifted out of me. Right now in this moment, if I'm in that relationship with that power and I've cleaned house, right now in this moment, I can be free of my character defects. So long as I'm living this as a way of life. I don't think it can't be removed from me forever, because the old character's built and it's not going away. But what has happened is I've turned. I went to the turning point, and instead of turning towards self, I turned towards God. And I'm allowing God's will to be my will. I'm using my will rightly. I'm aligning my free will with God's will. And in that aligning and that desire to do God's will, the defects of character aren't there. They're not necessary because I'm not trying to get anything anymore. And when I get to the end of step 6, I'm no longer a taker. My whole life I've been a taker. I've lived my whole life as an alcoholic with alcoholism. I'm a taker. I go everywhere I go. I get a girl to take. I want to take sex. I want to take her good looks on my arm. I want to take everything I can from that relationship. I don't get into a relationship thinking, oh, there's a pretty girl. I wonder what I can offer her. I wonder what I could do to make her life better. I wonder how much money I could spend on her to make her feel great about herself. I don't go into a relationship like that. I look at him and I go, wow, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. I wonder how long that would be fun for. And at the end of step 6, my character defects are being removed. I'm no longer going out to get. I don't know what I'm doing yet because I haven't started step 7. But I'm done. The old way of life, the old character is at the end. It's been completely exposed. The light's been shined on it. And there's nowhere further to go in that character. There's nothing good left in old character that I need for my life today, in this life right now, that's going to propel me to move forward. If I was to gain any real advantage in the use of this step on problems other than alcohol, I shall need to make a brand new venture into open-mindedness. So they're all connected, right? I started my venture into open-mindedness in step 2. And now I'm going to do a brand new one. I'm going to keep brand new open-mindedness right now. For step 6, needs some open-mindedness. I shall need to raise my eyes toward perfection and be ready to walk in that direction. I have to ask myself if I'm ready. Am I ready? What am I holding on to? Those are the questions from step 5, really. Is there still something in my defects that I think is going to make my life better? Do I still think I can use those defects to make my life, not my life, I might be able to get a bigger house and change wives, but my life is what goes on inside of me. Can I appreciate the house that I have or the wife that I have? Can I have that as a way of life in step 6? This is the exact point at which I abandon my limited objectives and move towards God's will for me. This is the exact point where I abandon my limited objectives. It's done. It's over. What I want is over. Step 6 is the end of me. It's the end of old character. Now can I move towards God's will for me? Okay, let's bring it on. We'll do step 7 after lunch. But if you have questions about 6. Who am I? Can other people see through my faces and see the real me? Can I get feedback from others to learn who I really am? Yeah, that's a great question. Wearing faces. We talked a little bit about that last night, I think, wearing faces and how I pretend to be somebody. And there's a guy, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he wrote a quote, "Who I am shouts so loudly." Actually, it goes like this: "Who you are shout so loudly, I cannot hear what you say." People see me coming from a mile away. When I'm a taker, they see me as a taker. You know who's attracted to takers? Other takers. Takers need takers. I got to be with other takers because maybe I could take what they have and they're going to try and take what I have, and we have this really interesting disgusting relationship, a twisted relationship where we try to take from each other. And I'm looking at the whole world as something I could take. I can take some over here and I can take some over there, and I'll take some at work. And I'm always taking, trying to please myself as a taker. Givers want to give. They're givers. They get the joy. They get to live the principle of it's better to give than to receive. Well, the problem with the taker is if you get around a giver, it's fun to get given to for a little while, but the taking doesn't satisfy me. Right? The receiving, I'm not into the receiving, I'm into the taking. And if you're giving, I don't have to take, I get bored. I get sick of you. I don't want to be around you. You're too nice. I need to go find somewhere else where I can take, where I can do my magic, where I can connive and plan and scheme and work at it and take it. And that's the character that I am. And givers get with other givers. And they give, and they keep giving. And I get into relationship with a giver as a giver, and my life just keeps getting better and better. And I can't believe how good it is. And guys are giving me things. My daughter gave me that incredible vacation and her husband, and they wanted to give, and I was almost shocked at the amount of giving that was being given. And I was trying to be a giver too. And we had a beautiful experience as two givers in a giving relationship. If I was taking, I would have had to leave them for a while and go somewhere else where I could get my taking on. But I think that the reason that I have, takers are desperate people. Takers are never satisfied. You get somebody that works for you that's a taker, and they're always taking. They want to take a vacation. They want to take a raise. They want to take time off. They want to take a cigarette break. They want to take a ride in their car. They want to take coming out late, take some time off in the morning. They want to leave early and take some time off in the afternoon. And eventually you just go, you know what? I'm sick of this guy. I got to get rid of this guy. And so, as a taker, my life sucks. My life never works. And as an unsatisfiable taker, I can't even get it. I can never get the thing that I want. And people see me coming, and I'm applying for jobs, smiling and telling them how hard I work and how much I want that job, and they look at me and they go, sounds good, but something's not right. I think we'll pick someone else. I used to walk down the street and I thought everybody in LA was a badass. I thought everybody in LA wanted to fight me. And I thought, why is it such a hostile world that I live in? Why does everybody want to fight me? Why does everybody look so mean? And you know what it was? I'm in so much fear that everywhere I go, I walk around with my fight face on. And because of my fear, I'm walking around ready to fight everybody, because I think everybody's going to try and take my stuff, take from me. And so I'm looking at you with my fight face on. You see me, man, you get a weird look on your face. You get your fight face on because you know you're going to need to protect yourself if this guy gets too close. And then somebody said, why don't you just practice smiling and saying hi to everybody? And I started doing that. And man, the whole world changed. All of a sudden, there were nice people. I couldn't believe it. I would say, hi, how you doing? And they'd smile and they'd look up and they'd say hi back. And they weren't all angry, negative, fighting people. It was me. It was me. And that was the world I lived in. And people could see me coming. And I'm going to get to build a new character in 7 through 12 that doesn't have to be that fighter, taker, fearful, crazed individual. Can I practice a not quiet yet defect, a not quite yet defect, from time to time, and still be aligned with God's will or living a life on spiritual means? The half measures. You can practice a defect in this moment, and then you can practice being in the relationship in the next moment. And the fact that you practice the defect doesn't mean that you have to now beat yourself up about the defect that you practiced. You see, I'll do some bad behavior, and then rather than get back into recovery, I talk to myself all day about the bad behavior I did, which I think is somehow going to get me into recovery, because I'm going to feel bad enough about myself that at some point I'm going to get into recovery. But the recovery only happens right now. So even if I had bad behavior, I got to say, hey God, I'm up to my old tricks again. I've acted badly. Could you help me right now? Could I be with you now? And that's a 10-step way of life. When I do act badly and I hurt somebody, I admit it promptly. Promptly I admit it. And then I share it with God and myself and possibly with another human being. So you can practice a not quite yet defect. I don't know what that means. It's a defect or it's not a defect. From time to time, and you will. You're an alcoholic with alcoholism. My sponsor told me, Randy, you're never going to be perfect. Step 6, I'm never going to be rendered white as snow. I'm always at the turning point. Right now, at the end of this thought, I'm at the turning point again. I can ask His protection and care with complete abandon, or I can ask my protection and care with complete abandon. If I ask me, there's a good chance I'm going to act badly, and I'm going to act from a selfish, self-centered, unsatisfied place, and somebody's going to get hurt. Now, that's going to happen. The moment I can see it, I get to promptly admit it to myself and do something about it, and we're going to learn. We're not going to learn anything. We're going to expose that as a way of life, hopefully, and have an awareness of it. Playing poker from time to time. Often a self-satisfying event. Look, if you got extra money and you want to spend your extra money playing poker and you can end at the end of the poker game, you can go home and go to bed, enjoy yourself. There's nothing wrong with playing poker. The problem with playing poker is that I start fantasizing about how much money I'm going to make off the poker, and then I'm willing to go to any lengths to make that happen, and then I wind up with an empty bank account and sleeping in hotels with hookers, and I don't know how that happened. A little poker. There are guys that can play poker, and there are guys that can't. There are guys that can drink coffee, and there are guys that can't. I can't drink coffee. I cannot drink coffee with impunity. I drink a cup of coffee, I'm going to go over there and put my mouth on the bottom of that funnel and suck the whole thing. I'm just going to drink it because I get a little high from coffee, and I like that high. And I want to chase that high, and I keep drinking it. Now, that's my life. That's not your life. I can never, ever drink coffee again, but you can, and I don't have... So is it a character defect to drink coffee? For me it is, because it messes me up. For you, it's a cup of coffee. I can go and play poker. Take $20. When the night's over, I lost it because I'm not very good at it. And then I go home and I think, wow, that was fun for $20. I enjoyed that. And that's the end of it. We're all individuals. We all have our own defects. We all have our own demons. If playing poker starts your disease in motion, then you can't play poker. You can't touch it because it's like alcohol. You don't know when it's going to end. You lose all control. When that goes on, when I drink coffee, I go into a mental blackout, and I don't even know how many cups I drank, and I find myself driving from Starbucks to Starbucks, and I don't even have anywhere to go. And I get home and I'm standing in my living room thinking I got all these things to do, but I can't do them because there's too many things and my brain's going so fast I can't slow down and I don't even know what to do. So I just stand there in one spot, kind of rock a little bit. My wife comes home and goes, "Oh, he's been drinking coffee." I can't do it. You know what you can and can't do if you're in step 6. What is a defect versus a shortcoming? So a defect of character is something that I do that I shouldn't do. So for me, I shouldn't always try to get the best deal in every business deal. I can get a good deal, but I don't have to get the best deal. I shouldn't act badly to try and make other people feel stupid so I could feel good about myself. I shouldn't do that. Those are things I shouldn't do. Shortcomings we're going to talk about in step 7. So that's it.
All right.
Enjoy your lunch.